criminals who got caught for the dumbest things. In 2011, a man from Florida attempted to rob a convenience store with a squirt gun filled with juice. Luckily, the worker recognized the juice as juice that they sell and he called the police. They then tracked him down and arrested him. In 2014, a man from Australia attempted to rob a gas station with a banana. He had peeled the banana and used it to simulate the shape of a gun. The man was also arrested and charged with armed robbery. In 2018, a man in California was breaking into a house, but he didn't realize that he had accidentally dialed 911 while he was still in the house. The operator heard noises in the background, so he sent police to the phone's location, where the man was then arrested. People versus Nature, Part 2. These passengers on a cruise ship struggle against massive waves. These hikers in Ireland struggle to walk upright against this intense wind. This man watches helplessly as he loses his house to a river. This skier is just able to outrun a massive avalanche. And finally, this teenage boy endures a hailstorm in his underwear for the sake of making a video. Rich athletes that went completely broke, Part 1. First off, we have Mike Tyson, who's earned over $400 million in his career. He spent a lot of money on random things, but the most random one has to be his tigers. He spent a total of $70,000 to get 3 tigers, but in order to feed them, he has to pay another $200,000 per year. He then had to pay another $125,000 to get them house trained at his $2.5 million mansion. But that didn't seem to work because one of them attacked his neighbor, and he was forced to pay another $250,000 in damage bills. So just from his tigers alone, he spent $650,000, which still isn't that much for him since he can get paid $30 million for a fight. But he kept doing things like that, for example spending $2 million on gold bathtubs, millions more on limos, parties, clothes, vehicles, mansions, and a ton more. Until in 2003 when he went bankrupt, and by the age of 37 he was $38 million in debt. But only 7 years before that he spent over $400,000 on one night of partying for his 30th birthday. The strangest last meal requests on death row. In 1963, Victor Harry Fager was sentenced to death for a kidnap and murder. For his final meal, he requested a single olive with the seed left in it. After his execution, the seed was found in his pocket. They believe he wanted to be buried with it so a tree would sprout on top of him. Gerald Lee Mitchell requested an assorted bag of Jolly Ranchers and he ate every single one. In 1990, James Edward Smith requested a lump of soil. But because dirt isn't on the list of permitted food, he was served a cup of yogurt instead. Thomas Grasso was convicted of robbery and murder. He requested a bunch of things, like a cheeseburger from Burger King, 2 strawberry milkshakes, but the thing he wanted the most was SpaghettiOs, which he didn't receive. Instead, he got spaghetti which was supposedly too warm. His last words before dying were, "I did not get my SpaghettiOs, I got spaghetti. I want the press to know this." Moments when singers knew they messed up. During a Fifth Harmony concert before they split up, the singer Camila Cabello was hyping up the crowd when her part of the song started playing, exposing that they were all lip syncing. At the Billboard Awards, the singer Miguel tried jumping from one part of the stage to another, but he accidentally hit a fan. Luckily, the fan wasn't injured too bad, and after in an interview, she said that she still adored him.
I adore him.
And you still adore him, even though you've got an ice pack on your elbow.
But the weird part is, 2 years later, she decided to sue him. This man, who is an author and a rapper, went on live TV and decided to freestyle.
Years ago, they tried to put me in the... This is a lie.
But it didn't go very well, and the next time he was on the show, they introduced him as just an author and not a rapper. Here's what things costed in 1950. At the grocery store, a loaf of bread costed 14 cents. A gallon of milk cost 80 cents, and a dozen eggs cost 49 cents. A trip to the movies would set you back 65 cents for a ticket, and another 10 cents for a bag of popcorn. A bleacher seat for an MLB All-Star game costed $1. A night at a hotel was $5.90. The average price for a new car was around $1,500, and the gas to fill it cost 18 cents a gallon. Finally, a massive 12.5-inch black and white TV was around $150. The voices behind 3 of the most popular cartoons. SpongeBob SquarePants made Nickelodeon $12 billion. The voice actor for SpongeBob is Tom Kenny, who also voiced the mayor in Powerpuff Girls, Dog and Cat Dog, Spyro the Dragon, the Ice King from Adventure Time, and more. Patrick is played by William Mart Fagerbacke, who is in the sitcom Coach, and also How I Met Your Mother. In the movie Moana, Ollie E. Crivello said she wasn't going to audition because she's seen so many good auditions on YouTube. Then someone finally convinced her. She was the last to audition and she got the part. Maui is played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He said he based the part on his father because Maui was very similar to him. Finally, in Guardians of the Galaxy, Rocket Raccoon is voiced by Academy Award winner Bradley Cooper. And his sidekick Groot is voiced by Vin Diesel from the Fast and Furious series.
I am Groot.
This is why you should always have a dash cam in your vehicle. This lady was test driving a vehicle from her husband's dealership when a cop passed her, then suddenly turned around and turned on his lights. She was stopped at a red light, then when it turned green, she turned. She didn't know if the officer was pulling her over because she didn't think she did anything wrong, but she pulled over anyway. When she put the vehicle into park, she took off her seatbelt. When the officer walked up to her window, she said that she took off her seatbelt because it was a habit. Then he said the reason he was pulling her over is because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. She was being honest when she said it was a habit, but the officer was using it to his advantage. She remembered she had a dash cam and told him that. Then he walked away without giving her a ticket. If she never had a dash cam, it would have been her word versus the officer's. 5 insanely lucky moments in sports. In the final seconds of this high school basketball game, a player throws up a wild full court shot and manages to make it to win the game. Next up, this baton handoff should have been a disaster, but because of a few lucky bounces, the runners were able to save it. During a college football game, this pass should have easily been intercepted, but luckily for Auburn, 2 players from the other team collided, and the ball flew right into the arms of the receiver to complete the touchdown. After an incredible volley, it seems like Roger Federer is about to lose the point, but he's somehow able to make an incredible return between his legs. Okay, this one might not be lucky, this one might just be skill. And finally, Russell Westbrook is out of control as he dribbles towards the net. Not only does he draw a foul, he tosses up a Hail Mary that rolls off the backboard, hits the rim, then bounces in. 2 prison guards who were saved by inmates. In this footage from 2015, 17-year-old Jamal Lutridge is being processed at Fort Lauderdale Police Department. As the officer is booking the teenager for burglary, he gets a pain in his chest and collapses onto the floor. The boy looks around and realizes they're alone, so he starts yelling and kicking on the door to get some help, and ended up saving him from a potentially deadly heart attack. They even had a ceremony to honor him. Inmates from a jail in Georgia were at a cemetery watering the plants and cutting the grass. As the day went on, the guards started to hyperventilate due to the heat and collapsed, leaving the prisoners there without any guards. They could have easily ran away, but they didn't. 6 of the prisoners rushed immediately to help the guard. They took off his bulletproof vest so he could breathe better, and one of them grabbed his phone to call 911. And because they saved a life, all 6 of them got their sentences reduced by a quarter. The reason there's UFO sightings in Area 51. In the 1950s, US planes were doing low-flying recon missions over Russia. They did these missions to obtain more information because they were enemies, but they were constantly worried about being spotted and shot down. So in 1954, the president authorized the development of a high-flying top-secret aircraft. They needed a location that wasn't easily accessed by the public, so they chose Area 51. In 1955, there were spottings of UFOs in that area, and this is because they were testing the new aircraft that they built. It could fly higher than 60,000 feet in the air, and at the time, normal aircrafts could only fly 10,000 to 20,000 feet in the air. So when pilots would spot this top-secret aircraft above them, they would think it's a UFO. This 7-year-old girl saves herself from a creepy man. Emmy McCardle was laying in her front yard when a vehicle drove by. The car's window then rolled down and a man yelled hello. The girl looked up, then immediately ran towards her front door. While she was running, the man asked her if she wanted a bicycle, and this is what she said.
No.
Later in an interview, she said he seemed like a tricky man and was taught to stay away from them. People with real superpowers. Tim Cridlin feels no physical pain whatsoever. He doesn't feel needles in his skin. He doesn't feel high and low temperatures, and basically anything else a normal person would feel. Gino Martino, or better known as Hammerhead, has the ability to break concrete block, iron bars, and baseball hats with his head. And he even showed that he could drop a bowling ball from 5 meters and land on his head. Natalia Demkina has extraordinary vision. Her eyesight allows her to see everything that normal people could see, but she also has X-ray vision, so she could identify diseases just by looking at a person. Raj Mohan Nair can endure an electrical shock with the force of a few amperes. And to give you an example, a normal person can only endure a few milliamps before dying. Finally, Liu Thao Lin is the Magnet Man. He can attract metal objects to his body, and he can hold up to 80 pounds of items. Apparently, it's a sticky property in his skin, and is an ability that may be hereditary. No one came to his birthday party, so Chuck E. Cheese did this. It was Evan's 4th birthday and he celebrated in Chuck E. Cheese. His mom prepared a bunch of candy, a birthday cake, big balloons, and a bunch more. She also sent out 30 invitations to his friends. Evan was so excited, so they left early to play games with his friends before the party. He was the first one to get there, so he waited at the door for his friends to arrive. He waited for a long time, but no one showed up. One of the workers had to go to the bathroom to avoid crying because of how bad she felt for the boy. Evan and his parents decided to just go home. After a couple of days, the same Australian worker posted on Facebook asking if anyone would be willing to give Evan a present. Within 3 to 4 days, she had over a dozen presents to give to him. She contacted Evan's mom and said that the store had a surprise for Evan. So they drove over and she surprised Evan with all the presents. The worker said that seeing Evan smile was the only thing she wanted that day. 3 times The Simpsons predicted the future. In a 2012 episode, Lady Gaga performed for the town hanging in midair. 5 years later, she flew off the Houston Energy Stadium roof in real life to perform for the Super Bowl halftime show. In 2008, they showed Homer trying to vote for Barack Obama in the election, but the machine kept changing his vote. 4 years later, a voting machine in Pennsylvania was removed because it kept changing people's votes from Barack Obama to his rival Mitt Romney. Finally, in 1994, a school bully wrote "Beat Up Martin" on his Apple Newton, which was a product before the iPhone was made, but it got translated to "Eat Up Martha." A few years later, when making the iPhone keyboard, they added the autocorrect feature and said it was inspired by this episode of The Simpsons. People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident. Jason Padgett was a party animal who wasn't interested in mathematics at all, but one day at a party, he was hit in the head so hard that he got a concussion. The concussion caused him to become a mathematical genius. It made him learn fractal geometry, which he had never been taught before. When Derek Amato was 39 years old, he hit his head after diving into the swimming pool and was diagnosed with a concussion and 35% hearing loss. After that, Derek began to see black and white keys in his head, and out of nowhere, he began to play the piano like an expert. Ben McMahon was in a car accident in 2015 and fell into a coma for a week. When he woke up, he could speak perfect Chinese, even though he had only learned the basics as a child. Tony Ciceria was struck by lightning after making a call in a phone booth. Within a couple days, he was addicted to music, which he wasn't before. After trying a piano, he became a musical artist composing his own music. This woman lost out on $120,000 when she ate a potato chip. Danielle Sager is enjoying a bag of Walker's potato chips when she notices something interesting. One of the chips is shaped like a perfect symmetrical heart. Danielle thought it was cute, so she snapped a picture to send to her friends, then she ate it. But when her friends responded, she realized that she made a huge mistake. But before I tell you why, I found this app that lets you put 2 people together and figure out what their baby would look like. Just press the link in the comments to try it for yourself. The reason it was a huge mistake is because Walker's, the company that makes the potato chips, was holding a competition for their customers to find the best heart-shaped chip, and the prize was $120,000. Her friends told her not to eat the chip, but it was too late. People versus animals. This man brings his young daughter fishing for catfish, but when he goes to reel in his catch, they get an unexpected surprise.
Oh my god! That's a big gator, buddy!
This mama moose charges at an unexpected cyclist. This man tries to ride a pig, but the pig said nope. This man is quick to give up on his own advice while handling a lion. And finally, this boy in Australia was just trying to ride on his scooter when he came across a magpie that tried to run him off the road.